It is Monday. It is March 4th. And man, I am exhausted. There's just something about Mondays. And I don't mean that in like the memey, very like, oh, Monday's my right. It's just I'm just exhausted right now. I am exhausted. It's been a slow run at the movies. There has not been a whole lot to talk about as far as it comes to movies this year. What I have liked so far hasn't been so much with movies, uh, but at least on the movie front, what did I go see? I went and saw a couple weekends ago. I went and saw Out of Darkness, and I am very much on. I'm gonna say I didn't like the movie. I don't think I liked the movie. I keep trying to find like redeemable qualities about it. I don't think I liked it. I'm trying to see what it currently has on Rotten Tomatoes. I know this is partially the reason why. Oh, let me turn off the audio over here. This is partially why I went and saw it. Now, I don't live in like a big hub of an area. I live in Central Virginia. I'm an hour away between Charlottesville and Roanoke. So we have a decent size theater here, but what we have that I love is we have a kind of cheap discount movie theater. It's basically movies that have kind of made their theatrical run, kind of get like a run in this cheaper theater, which is really nice. It's a good way to go see movies that you maybe don't know if you want to go spend a whole lot of money on. And again, because of where I live, our kind of main regular theater, it doesn't always get kind of these smaller independent films. It'll usually kind of get the larger theatrical runs, and that's kind of where it's going to make its money. So Out of Darkness is one of those movies. It's a smaller movie that was not going to get a larger theatrical run around here. It probably got it in some other places. But yeah, just to give you guys some ideas here, I saw this, and I saw 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I said, "Oh heck yeah, cannot wait to check that out." Just to kind of give you an idea, it's about a group of Neanderthals, cavemen. I don't know if there's a difference between the two. And they're basically trying to cross these plains to hopefully find a new home. You don't really get a whole lot of details on why they're even running in the first place, but it's not really all that important. It is a semi-survival horror film on top of it. The couple kind of cool elements of the movie is one, where it was shot. I believe this is technically a Scottish film. So it kind of takes place in the Scottish Highlands, and that's a beautiful place to go shoot a movie. So probably had, I would guess. Again, I didn't do a whole lot of research on this, and truthfully, I don't really want to because I don't think I really like the movie. I would guess it had a pretty small budget. It was a pretty tiny budget. I think the first third of the film, mind you, it's an hour and 27 minutes long. I think it says there. The first third of the movie was kind of interesting. The last 5 to 10 minutes was also pretty interesting, but that was about it. That was like this whole kind of like middle section where the horror element is not all that interesting to me. It just wasn't doing it for me. And Yeah, I guess you could put me in that 54% on the audience score. I didn't know what the audience score was when I saw that. I just saw that it had a good tomato meter score, so I went in there. The other thing that was kind of interesting about this film is the language is completely fictional. It's this I'm going to guess they were adhering to probably some loose rules on how they speak to each other, and it was much more about reaction, so they knew what they were trying to say, but that was kind of it. Um, it just wasn't a very good movie. Didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy it. Um, there's also to me a major issue with this movie that really bothered me when I was watching it. Now, most of these female characters here, they look rough. Like they look pretty beat up and rough. I don't know, kind of like I would expect cavemen to look. Even just looking at this image, what is this haircut? What is that haircut? What is this mustache here? There's a little bit of facial hair here. Nicely cropped. He doesn't have a beard either. I'm sorry. Where were they getting the razors for these haircuts? That just feels like, I don't know, if I'm about to be cast into a role as a caveman, I should probably let myself go for a little bit of time, you know? Look the part a little bit. Not perfectly crop my mustache here. Uh, I don't get I think it's small stuff like that, but man, it just kept sticking out to me that like something doesn't look right here. Everything was beautifully shot, but I don't know. Am I just being whiny? Could be just being whiny here. All right, let's take a look at Box Office Mojo. We obviously had a massive movie drop over the weekend here, and I'm not talking about Madame Web, which is just getting absolutely decimated. At every turn, it's just getting decimated here. But Dune Part 2. I have not seen Dune Part 2 yet. We had a pretty busy weekend, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to go see this. And it's not a short movie. You're going to spend well over 2.5 hours watching this movie, so you kind of have to kind of carve out that time. As I've mentioned many times before on the podcast, and as I've mentioned here on these live streams, that's tough to do. It is tough for me to go and find time when I'm a 37-year-old man with 2 kids. Kids that are growing up. And I've got a 10-year-old and I've got a almost 6-year-old. So it feels like we're involved in everything. We're doing a lot of Girl Scouts here recently. So selling a lot of Girl Scout cookies because it is cookie season. So being able to go and catch a almost 3-hour long movie is a really challenging thing to do. So I was not able to go see this yet. My plan is to go see it sometime this week. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go catch it tomorrow, but if not, I think the plan is to maybe go and catch it on Wednesday. I wanted to go see it in IMAX, but as I also previously mentioned here as well, I don't live near an IMAX. I'm about an hour away from an IMAX. So then I have to make that decision. Do I want to drive 2 hours round trip for what will be a 3-hour long movie, because previews are always going to take you at least 30 minutes as well. Do I have a spare 6 hours sitting in my back pocket to go see this? Probably not. So I got to go do this the standard way, which I don't hate. I don't hate seeing these movies just kind of at the regular theaters and not going to an IMAX. But I'd like to go see something in IMAX as like a special little treat. And this should be a special little treat. It's just not going to work out. I'm left with very little choice here. Either I go see it soon, which I would prefer to do, or I wait until sometime in the future to go see this. I don't feel like waiting. I don't want to. So I'm not going to. So I'm going to go see this at our Regal Theater here sometime this week. So hopefully by Wednesday, I will be able to have seen the film. So if you've seen the film, please don't spoil it for me. Although I did read the book many years ago. It's been a while. It's been a long enough that there's like sections of this that I definitely am not going to remember, but still, I don't want you to ruin it for me. I do want to see this movie. I'm very excited for this movie. Um, and this has been a slow year. And we will look at the overall box office here in a minute, but we're in February, so you're typically running into a ton of movies here. Like that isn't super unusual. But lately, I think the last few years, there's always been like a sneaky good movie that came in typically around like February. Weirdly enough, there've been a lot of like horror movies that'll kind of tuck into this spot here. Like nobody's expecting it, so they'll just kind of tuck in these little horror films that do great. I'm super excited to see these types of numbers, and I know 178 million worldwide is it's a pretty big number for a PG-13 kind of sci-fi film that to me is a bit on the heavier side. I know when it comes to the book, the whole idea of reading the book is it was the Dune book itself, not really the series, but the book itself is considered kind of like the gold standard of sci-fi writing. Gosh, if there are any sci-fi nerds seeing this, they might feel different about this, but I was always told that Dune was kind of like the thing you had to read. In fact, a lot of what Star Wars did was based off of the Dune book. And Dune, when you're reading it, you could kind of see why, man, how could you possibly make this a movie? And there's been only probably 2 times in my life where I've read something and said, how could that be a movie? And then it was a movie, and I was like, all right, they actually nailed it. There's been more times where I've read a book and said, how could you make this a movie? And then I watched it and said, yeah, you probably shouldn't have made that movie. It did not do any service to the book, and it wasn't going to work. How you translate these things is a tricky thing. For the record, that the two are Dune, which I didn't think you could make a movie of. I thought it was too complicated. When you read the book is heavy. There's a lot of kind of different factions, different political groups, different religious groups and ideals that are all kind of tied into it. That I was like, there's no way you could translate this onto a screen that would make a lot of sense. But of course, Denis Villeneuve is one of the greatest directors alive right now, and he absolutely crushed it. The one out there, oddly enough, because I don't care for this director all that much, I think he nailed it here, was Watchmen. I think the Watchmen movie was a virtually perfect interpretation of its source material. Watchmen graphic novel, again, very complicated, very difficult to, I think, make into a movie. But Zack Snyder, for all his faults and all the things I don't care for him on, he crushed it there. He absolutely crushed it there. So yeah, so here we are with what to me is a very complicated, very deep book, and I don't think that he necessarily cuts a lot of corners. In fact, I can't think after watching the first one, which is a lot closer to when I read the book. I nothing stuck out to me as he should have included that. Or man, that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. It worked. And I have a feeling it's going to be the same here. And it's crazy that this translates so well to just general audiences. Because if I were to read the book, I would say this shouldn't be a movie because I don't think it will translate well. And yet, here we are. $178 million later after just one weekend. Absolutely crushing it. So I'm glad to see it. Has it saved the box office? No, we're only in March. I'm just being clickbaity here because I know that I can. Bob Marley, One Love is the second highest grossing film of the year so far. I mean, obviously Dune is right behind this, and this is just domestic. So this isn't kind of taking into account worldwide. But this is the kind of world we're in right now, right? Wonka, which is a holdover from December of last year, as the number one movie in the box office. It's crazy to think that in just a short period of time here, Chalamet will have the number 1 and number 2 movie in the box office for this year. Obviously, that won't last, but for now, that's the case. Things that are kind of surprising me: the fact that The Beekeeper is sitting up here as high as it is, and the fact that Argyle is as low as it is. They kind of had a decent ad campaign for Argyle, so I kind of thought Argyle would end up kind of making some money here, but no, it's sitting pretty low. I'm gonna yell at my dog. One second. All right, he barks at everything, so having him right out my door is a lot of fun there. Medem Web sitting at number 10. Well, I mean, did it did it crack? All right, I predicted this is about where it would land. I said about 90 million is where I thought it was going to go. I did not think it would crack 100 million, and I mean, it might still end up doing that, but man, it is gonna be close because it's gonna start losing some theaters here real quick. It started at over 4,000 theaters and it's already dipped down into the 3,000 range. I think it's gonna start to get cut out here pretty quickly because you're getting dips like that. So uh yeah, this so far this has been a very slow start. That's all to say. This is not a great looking top 10. Usually I'm hanging around or talking to people that go to the movies. I enjoy going to the movies. Um, Probably more than I enjoy streaming movies. Um, and usually you'll get a mix of people that have seen a little bit of something on here. Uh, I know a few that have seen Wonka. We went and saw Migration as a family, and that's it for this top 10. I don't know anybody else that's really seen anything else in here. Obviously, a bunch of people went and saw Dune Part 2. Um, but that's wild to me. That's wild to me that there's just this top 10. Again, I know it is the beginning of March, so there's still a long ways to go here. But do we have anything to even look forward to? What's upcoming? So March 8th, that would be this weekend. Love Lies Bleeding. I gotta say, is that an A24 movie? If that's an A24 movie, that might make some sense there. But goodness, nothing. You got nothing coming out. I'm sorry. Kung Fu Panda 4. That will shoot up. That will do really good this weekend. Is this A24? It is A24. How could you tell if you've not seen the trailer for this? I don't think that's anything that I can play on this stream. At least the one that I saw there was a Red Band trailer. So if you are curious as to what A24 is up to, they're up to a lot, but you can go check that out on your own. I'm not going to be able to play that on here. So yeah, that is kind of a box office recap from over the weekend, and maybe with some potential movies to look forward to. I know that a lot of people had they had Dune as their most anticipated movie of the year. I know it was up there for me. I know that Dune was obviously a hugely anticipated movie. Denis also said over the weekend here, well, at least it was reported over the weekend. I don't know if it was directly said that he would not make another movie in somebody else's kind of cinematic universe. That's kind of interesting to me. I love creative directors. I love directors that take chances, especially on kind of their own ideas. It's not very often that studios will just go hand in the cash. I'm going to guess at this point, he's probably built up enough kind of cachet to be able to take chances, and studios are going to go and give those types of risks. So at this point, obviously for him, that would include the Dune movies, I guess, would fall into somebody else's cinematic universe or I don't know if he was referencing this completely. I think he might have been referencing Blade Runner, because he did Blade Runner 2040. Again, a great movie, a better movie than it had credit being. It didn't deserve to be as good of a movie as it is, because that's a sequel to a much older movie that probably never needed a sequel to begin with, but he ends up kind of killing it there. Um, but I don't know if he was necessarily just referencing Dune because I do think right now, at least from initial reports and plans, that this won't be the end of Dune. That there will still be more Dune to come. I don't know if that means that this book finishes on part two. For you that have seen it and have read the books, you might know, but I don't know. But there are additional Dune books as well. Not as highly regarded, at least from what I can tell. For those that are kind of really big super fans, I'm sure they're really into it. For me, those are not typically books that I like to read. I just wanted to read it because I knew of how highly regarded it was, but didn't really have any interest in kind of going much more beyond that. It's not typically the books I read. I will say with the hype that was going out with Dune over the weekend, it did make me also think on top of it where, what's happening? Like, will we ever get another Star Wars style cinematic universe? Not to say that Dune is going to be that. I don't think that it will. I do think that it kind of falls into its own kind of individual category. But what I mean by that is obviously movies that have an incredible amount of hype, that are deeply iconic, and last for multiple generations. And I don't know if we ever I look to me, Star Wars stands in a category all by itself. Like there's nothing like it, and I don't know if there ever will be something like it again. But it will be kind of fun, and maybe it's just because there's a part of me that's just sick of the Star Wars cinematic universe. I'm just not. I'm kind of done with it. I think they've milked that thing for all it's worth and have now tortured it into, a much more miserable situation that I would like to see something new come along and kind of fill that void. Do I see my 6-year-old asking me for a Paul Atreides toy or a giant Shai Hulud toy this summer? Probably not. I'm looking at this now. Now we're talking here. Now this is where, do these toys even exist? Of course they exist, right? Dune toys. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, guess who just answered his own dang question and look at this thing. This is a 4-pack of Dune toys. Now, are these actually action figures here? Or are we talking, these are collectibles? These look more like collectibles to me than they are like action figures. But there is something kind of awesome about this where I kind of wish my 6-year-old was like, yeah, Dad, I want some Dune toys here. Like, imagine giving him that thing. Like, that is a thing of nightmares. Like that's the stuff that's like, oh jeez. Like, come on now. What is that? I mean, they're cool looking, but none of these are made for kids. These have to be more collectibles. Isn't that what toys have become nowadays? They're just more collectibles. Kids aren't really going out there and getting toys anymore. Kids have they have phones. They're not really going out there and kind of collecting toys and doing all of that stuff. So nobody's asking for those. Those things are for the adults, the adult nerds. But at least we know there are Dune toys. I didn't see any of the sandworms or the Shai Hulud. I did not see any of those. Um, of course, the plan is still I am going to pick up a giant sandworm popcorn bucket. I still plan on collecting that. Once I do have that, I will be bringing that on stream as well. Um, I'd like to see if there are other things that I can place within the bucket that are also just as fun to get out of that bucket. Um, very much looking forward to that when I have my hands on that. So, just something to look forward to. Something to look forward to. I'm clicking all sorts of things right now that I don't mean to be clicking on. Okay. So again, I do want to stress that this year maybe has not been great for movies, but there are at least 2 shows that are 100% certified. Go check them out because they are outstanding. Let's go ahead and pull them up. Let's go take a look at these. I've already mentioned them on stream before, but we can at least come back and say, you know what? One of them I didn't know if it was going to be good, but it 100% great. Blue-Eyed Samurai. If you have not checked this out, please get on to Netflix and check this out. 100% for a tomato meter 96 animated score, or I'm sorry, audience score. So good. On paper, if you were to just pitch this to me, it's a revenge film or a revenge series. In fact, there are elements of this movie. One of them I actually really hate. It's one of the only things I actually kind of hate on the show. It's just one thing, and I'm not going to say anything about it other than, but it's very much connected to Kill Bill, which I love Kill Bill. But revenge films, you're going to have to make them a little bit more interesting. And the animation is stunning. The characters are well thought out, well developed to the point where you care about those characters. And more importantly, your main protagonist is outstanding because the protagonist is not perfect, very flawed, and which is kind of normal again in your kind of stories of revenge, but it doesn't look at the act of revenge as necessarily a bad thing. It is a part of that hero's journey, but the person themselves and the damage they do to those around them. Just really great. It's not super long. I believe it's just 10 episodes long. It did already get confirmed for a second season, which is not always commonplace when it comes to Netflix. Sometimes if they do not get the attention that they want in that first week, they'll go home and just outright just can any potential of that having a future. The other one, a very similar time period, but a completely different type of show, and that is Shogun. This is available on Hulu. If you have not checked this out, the first 2 episodes are available. I don't know when the rest of those will be available. They had dates on them. I think tomorrow. I think this debuts tonight, the new episodes. 100% highly recommend this one as well. So good. There's a lot of comparison here to it being like the next Game of Thrones. I don't know if I would go that far. I feel like things can just be their own thing. I know I said that as I was just trying to compare if Dune could just be the next Star Wars, but I do believe that this kind of stands on its own merit. The writing is outstanding. The acting is, and it looks like they did not spare a single dime to make it any better. Or I'm sorry, to make it. It just looks that good. As a side note here, this guy, if you do go check out this movie, this guy feels like discount Tom Hardy. From New Jersey, that is shocking to me. Just clicking on this here, I didn't look this guy up at all, but I would never in a million years have guessed this dude is from New Jersey. He does a really good job sounding British. Uh, and to me, I don't know why I can't stop thinking Tom Hardy when I check him out. That's a cool name, Cosmo Jarvis. That's just an awesome name. So yes, I highly recommend if you have not checked out either of those shows, go check them out. Again, on Netflix and on Hulu, both well worth it. But that's all I've really got here today. I just kind of wanted to do a quick recap on the box office, maybe what we could be looking at in the box office moving next week, and then just talk about some things that I'm watching. What are you watching right now? Do you have anything on your must-watch list that I should keep an eye open for? Have you watched anything recently that maybe surprised you, caught you off guard, and you ended up loving it? If you've got anything like that, I would love to hear about it. Please leave that in a comment down below wherever you are watching this. Or if you would like to join in on the conversation actively and you would like to actively participate in this discussion and maybe even ridicule me and tell me how stupid my movie suggestions are, I would love to do that. The plan is always to do this Monday through Friday whenever I am available, unless I'm on vacation or something like that. Anywhere around 11 to 3 o'clock. It's somewhere in the afternoon time. So wherever you're watching this, if you are subscribing to it, you can always set some type of notification that'll notify you whenever we go live, and you can jump on and get at me then. I like that though. I like the debate. I like being able to argue with people. So if you are so inclined to do that yourself, please, I'd be happy for you to join me on one of these episodes. And maybe even we'll bring you on. Maybe we'll bring you on and have a discussion with you here live. I'd be cool with that. But until then, I'll look forward to talking to you all again. And I hope you guys have a great Monday and a great rest of your week. See ya.